You're up.
Thank you. I feel the urge to sing. Anyone that knows me very well will know that if they put a microphone in my hand, I tend to launch into karaoke. So, but no, not today. I would like to talk about trust and how that is the basis for high-performing sales teams and sales. So I'm Katy Bennett. I head up the UK team for Tinyclues. We're an AI business. Trust is hugely important in what we do. You have to trust the machine. We have a value that we've recently enshrined, having gone through a lengthy sort of cultural committee process, which is staying human. There was some great comments by Ian earlier about this, that sales will fundamentally be a human process and connecting with people. When I transitioned to leadership, I thought a lot about my personal values, what I wanted to bring to my leadership approach. And what I'd like to share is hopefully 2 tangible ways that I try to build trust with my teams. And the flip side of that is actually you gain trust by demonstrating empathy. And I know you guys deeply understand this at a subconscious level, but I want to show you how I actively try to be a practitioner. So first of all, little story. You know, in these kind of talks, you have to start with a personal anecdote. So recently, we did a big third-party survey of all of our clients, and we asked them a whole bunch of stuff about, you know, what Tinyclues was doing well, what value they drove, and so on, the team approach, and everything like that. And it went up to board level, and there was some very nice feedback from me personally, and a major high street retailer said, I really liked working with Katy. I trusted her. She didn't feel like a salesperson. And now, you know, I think many people here would agree that, you know, that's actually a really nice accolade, because I had achieved a kind of trusted advisor relationship status. I'm not here to talk about how I got there. It took a lot of time. It took, you know, 20 years of doing it and everything else. But we know that when we have trusted relationships, we drive more revenue, we drive upsell, we get referrals. We know all of this. So we know that the value of trust is inherent in sales. Another little story, I've just been on holiday to Greece. My 3-year-old is learning to swim, and he is clinging on to the deep end side of the pool, and he has his armbands off for, you know, probably the first time outside of the training pool back at home. And I'm constantly saying to him, trust me, you've got this. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Now, you know, obviously I do this with my teams when they're going into a big pitch, but what I'm saying to him is, not only do I believe in you, but you understand that I know that you've got the skills to do this. So whether you sink or swim, I've got your back. I'm there to catch you. And you all know this, everybody knows this. But building up empathy with teams is a long, slow process. There are 2 ways, though, that I'm trying to do this in scaling my business. So I've grown a team from scratch. I started out just over a year ago at Tinyclues. I built it up. I'm trying to hire the best talent. There's a key point in the relationship, which is at the interview, where I'm trying to connect and show empathy with candidates who I instantly feel are a really good fit with the business. And I've had some coaching on this, how to actually have that connection, build that trust at the interview stage. And I can tell you the kind of training that I've had. It's a chap called Richard Mullender, who is a hostage negotiator for the United Nations, previously at the Met Police. If I can see a few nods here, right? Right. So one of the key things I got from his training was this really, really powerful technique, communication technique. If you want to be an elite listener and really understand what drives people, you know, what are their real kind of emotional drivers? And obviously, as a sales leader, I want to know, can I work with this person? Do they want to work with me? Are we going to be a good fit? Right? So the really powerful question that I've used, I've done probably about 40 plus interviews in the last 12 months of salespeople, quite senior salespeople. I always ask this. And it's an indirect question because I'm trying to uncover emotional response. Who is the best boss you've ever had? And why did you like working with them? Now, this question for me, hopefully, usually, brings out a lot of emotional words. So classic responses are, they really trusted me to get on with it, right? So salespeople often say, they just let me get on with it. They like that in a leader. So that means that I can have a more emotionally connected conversation about, okay, that's very interesting. So I get the impression that you like to work autonomously. So how would you like me to get the balance right with letting you get on with it, but giving you enough coaching to encourage you, to help you with sales process, to help you with subject matter? And so we open up the conversation. A lot of people as well, when I say, who's the best boss you've ever had and why, will say things like, you know what, they were really, really passionate. And that's a great emotional word. And I can say, okay, I'm hearing that, passion is important to you. Why is that? Do you feel like, sometimes, if the going gets tough, you need someone to give you a bit of a kick? And you open up with empathy, with this indirect question, and you can really, really connect with the candidate. There's many other responses, but the point is that if you want to build trust right from the start in the interview process, and I feel like at the moment, with all the great sort of influx of SaaS companies coming in, the candidates, the really, really good candidates are at a premium, then my personal belief is that you've really got to connect as a potential manager with the people sat opposite you. And I've actually had quite emotional conversations about, actually, they allowed me to have flexibility. Flexibility, okay. Talk to me about flexibility. Well, I've just had a family, I've just had a baby. Okay, why is that important to you? So you're basically, in classic sales terms, getting beyond the need, underneath the need, and you are having a connected and quite emotional conversation. And that, for me, is the first level of trust when building a sales team. The second technique I'd just like to share, when I'm consciously trying to use the right language to elicit an emotional connection with my team, is when basically shit hits the fan. So when people's heads are down and that performance is on the decline, and you as a leader, you could just take them for a pint. You could just say, let's go for a walk, let's just go for lunch. And the classic opening is, how are you? But if you come at things head on, then quite often people are naturally on the defensive with their manager. Anyone with kids will know that if you ask direct questions like, how are you, you don't actually get the true emotional response. If I say to my two boys, how was school today, I get, fine, can't remember, right? So I was basically coached to use non-confrontational, again, indirect questioning. So, for example, with my kids, I will say something like, something really hilarious happened today. Can you share one thing that made you laugh? And that is an indirect question because I'm trying to get them to open up. Now, when it comes to when shit hits the fan and that someone's sales are dropping off and you really want to lift heads back up, the best advice I was ever given that I'd like to share is to use this non-confrontational language. So you don't say, look, mate, I know that you're having a bad quarter. What are we going to do about it? You come at it by, I'm getting the impression, or I'm sensing that, or I'm feeling that you're not having a good time right now, or you really came out of that meeting and it didn't go very, very, very well. And this sort of sideways approach, this non-confrontational approach, always elicits one of two responses. One, it's actually, you're right, which is confirmation. Or it's, no, it's not that my head's down. It's not that things aren't going very well. It's that actually I'm quite frustrated because they've changed the comp plan, or they've changed the process, or I'm just not getting on with that sales deck, or the leads that are coming through are no good. But for me, when I'm going into one-to-ones or I want to take someone for a drink or a lunch, I try to come at it in a very non-confrontational way because I want to show empathy for the fact that then they're having a very, very rough time. So when it comes to trust, when it comes to working with teams, when it came to me transitioning to leadership and growing the business where I feel I've got this fundamental value of being human, of being trusted, asking careful questions of teams, recognizing that I know what they're going through is very, very important. That's the way that you demonstrate empathy, and that's the way that you build trust. Thank you.
Great job.